again, everybody. Bienvenidos. My name is Elizabeth Lopez, and I am the librarian here at the Hillsboro Public Library. I want to welcome all of you to tonight's event. Thank you for being here. I wanted to just start off by doing a few housekeeping announcements. The bathrooms are located straight down the hall on the right-hand side past the stairs in case you need them. And I also want to ask everyone if you can silence your cell phones, and also please try to not text during the event. The last thing I wanted to do was to just thank our partners for making this event possible tonight. So I want to thank Adelante Chicas staff, and I also want to thank the Latino Caucus. And lastly, I'd like to thank Alan Hernandez Aguilar for putting together the beautiful flyer for our event. So let's give all of them a warm round of applause. So now I'm going to hand it over to Cristina Delgado with a presentation.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Cristina Delgado y trabajo con el programa de Adelante Chicas. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Cristina Delgado and I work with the program of Adelante Chicas, a program of Adelante Mujeres. ¿Alguien sabe qué día es hoy? Yes?
La Revolución Mexicana.
Sí, correcto, la Revolución Mexicana. Hoy estamos celebrando lo que es la Revolución Mexicana, pero voy a tocar un poquito acerca de las mujeres en la Revolución Mexicana. So yes, today we are celebrating the Mexican Revolution, and today I'm going to be just covering just a little bit about the participation of women in the Mexican Revolution movement. And it's going to be a quick presentation, like a 4-minute presentation, and then we can move on to our panelists. Entonces, la Revolución Mexicana fue en realidad un movimiento revolucionario que tenía diferentes figuras, ¿verdad? En este caso, diferentes figuras de hombres. Nosotros conocemos como la Revolución Mexicana a los héroes de la Revolución, como por ejemplo Francisco Villa, Emiliano Zapata, Francisco Madero, Venustiano Carranza, pero casi nunca conocemos la historia acerca de las mujeres que participaron en la Revolución. Entonces, with the Mexican Revolution we know a lot of figures, por ejemplo, Pancho Villa, Francisco Madero, Emiliano Zapata, but we rarely hear about women who participated in the Mexican Revolution. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about las soldaderas, what was their role y qué era lo que hacían. Entonces las soldaderas eran mujeres que participaban en la Revolución. Muchas de las personas les llaman soldaderas, algunas otras personas les llaman adelitas. Hay una canción muy famosa que se llama Las Adelitas, ¿verdad? También se les conoce como las Juanas y en otras ocasiones también como las cucarachas. La verdad esa no, esa la descartamos. Bueno, entonces, who were the soldaderas? ¿Quiénes eran realmente las soldaderas? Pues eran mujeres guerreras, so they were guerreras from the Mexican Revolution. También, most of them were native women or mestizas. Muchas de ellas eran mujeres mestizas, mujeres nativas. Y they were daughters, wives, girlfriends, sisters. Entonces igual, eran mujeres como nosotras. Hijas, esposas, novias, hermanas. Entonces, estas mujeres estaban siendo parte del movimiento revolucionario. Some of them joined based on their own ideals, while others were forced to join. Entonces muchas de estas mujeres en la revolución eran parte de la revolución porque creían en el movimiento y querían un México nuevo, un México mejor. Pero muchas de ellas fueron parte de la revolución porque fueron forzadas a hacerlo. Muchas de ellas, cuando llegaban las tropas de los armies, las agarraban y se las llevaban. Entonces muchas de ellas fueron forzadas a estar en el movimiento. Pero ¿cuáles eran algunas de las responsabilidades de las soldaderas? So what were some of the tasks of the soldaderas? Pues algunas de ellas hacían los deberes como por ejemplo el cocinar, el lavar ropa, el atender por ejemplo a los soldados, apoyar el crecimiento de la familia, de los niños. Y algunas otras cosas que también ellas hacían era por ejemplo ser espías, mensajeras Ellas también, después de cada batalla, ellas entraban a la zona de batalla y colectaban lo que podían, como por ejemplo en este caso, ropa, comida, armas. Y claro, también las soldaderas fueron parte de las batallas en la Revolución. Entonces aquí tenemos una imagen de algunas soldaderas que dice que aun cuando las soldaderas estaban embarazadas, ellas siempre seguían a las tropas. Después de tener a su bebé, descansaban y después continuaban. Entonces eran mujeres fuertes, mujeres valientes. Equal treatment and equal punishment. Aunque eran mujeres, realmente las soldaderas recibían el mismo castigo. Si ellas por alguna cosa desobedecían, pasaba algo, el castigo era el mismo para la mujer o para el hombre siendo soldadera. Y bueno, pues algunas historias importantes sobre soldaderas. Conocemos, por ejemplo, Petra Herrera, una mujer que realmente fue una leyenda entre las tropas. Tenemos también a Petra Ruiz, conocida como Pedro, porque ella cuando estaba en las tropas, cuando estaba en la Revolución, ella se vestía como hombre para que fuera aceptada y pudiera servir dentro de las tropas. También tenemos a Carmen Parra, conocida como la coronela Anís. También tenemos a Clara de la Rocha, la comandante de guerrilla, y a la Carmen Vélez, la generala, que mandó a más de 300 hombres mientras su participación en la Revolución. Pero nada más quiero tocar un poquito acerca de la historia de una de ellas. Her name is Petra Herrera. Y Petra, she joined the rebel army dressed as a male in order to serve, porque si era una mujer no le permitían servir, o le permitían servir hasta cierto punto, como por ejemplo cocinar, le permitían lavar ropa, pero no le permitían tener un cargo más grande. Entonces ella tuvo que vestirse de hombre para poder servir en las tropas. Ella mostró mucho liderazgo. She showed a lot of leadership among the troops, and she was known as Pedro Herrera. Entonces era una mujer, bueno, en ese entonces pues era un hombre, ¿verdad? Porque se vestía como hombre, que enseñaba mucho liderazgo. Entonces por eso fue reconocida como un gran soldado. Más después ella reveló su nombre y ella dijo, bueno, en realidad yo soy una mujer. Y dice la historia que sale de su cuarto y sale con las trenzas y dice, yo soy mujer y me llamo Petra y voy a seguir sirviendo en la Revolución, pero con mi nombre verdadero. Entonces desde ahí ella empezó a ser una leyenda y las mujeres la seguían mucho, al igual que los caballeros también. Cuenta la historia también que Petra fue parte de la batalla contra Torreón. Tomaron a Torreón y más de 400 otras mujeres también participaron en esta batalla. Pero lo triste es de que ninguna de ellas fue reconocida. Ninguna de ellas, si vemos a lo mejor en los libros de historia, ninguna de ellas se reconoce. El único que podemos notar, pues, que Francisco Villa fue el que tomó esta ciudad, pero en realidad nunca se reconoce a estas mujeres. Entonces, ¿por qué las soldaderas no son reconocidas? Why don't we know about las soldaderas? Y bueno, pues podemos decir que muchas de las veces, en aquel entonces la historia era escribida por hombres. Incluso ahora en día, mucha de la historia que nosotros conocemos a través de nuestros libros de historia, pues es también escrita por muchos hombres. Aunque hemos avanzado mucho, por ejemplo, ahora podemos ya leer libros acerca de las soldaderas, podemos conocer historias como las de Petra, porque se han guardado algunas historias que se han escuchado a través de corridos, pero normalmente no podríamos tener esta información. Entonces, el propósito de la presentación es dar a conocer la historia de estas mujeres valientes, que aún en día todavía seguimos teniendo muchas historias de muchas mujeres que siguen en la lucha y que siguen haciendo cosas increíbles en nuestra comunidad. Como por ejemplo tenemos nuestras panelistas aquí presentes, que a lo mejor no se llaman ellas mismas soldaderas, pero que siguen ese legado de lucha y ese legado de que pueden escribir su propia historia, de que ellas van a empezar a escribir su propia historia y de que nosotros como latinas podamos ser reconocidas y que no quede nuestra historia, lo que nosotros sabemos y hemos contribuido a la sociedad, en un nada, sino que sea reconocido el trabajo que se ha hecho la mujer desde el tiempo de la revolución hasta el tiempo de hoy. Entonces con esto termino y voy a pasar el micrófono a Narcy.
Before I start, I'm looking for my grandson. Really quick. Marcus? All right. Just checking. Good afternoon. My name is Narcy Rodriguez, and I am honored to be here today to be able to work with these soldaderas, these guerreras, these Juanagallos. My name is Narcy Rodriguez. I work at Portland Community College. I've been there for about 12 years. I am the Dean of Students here for PCC, and I also teach Chicano Latino Studies. So I will be teaching a class, I'll put in a plug, spring term, twice a week. I'll share that information later afterwards. But at this time, I would like to start with our panelists, and thank you for the presentation. Gracias por la presentación. I'm going to, is it okay to do this in English, Spanish? What would you like, audience? Both? Okay. So we'll try to do both, all right? Now, sometimes I may get confused and have no idea if I'm speaking English or Spanish, okay? That happens. So I'm going to start in English. I would like to start with a question which is very relevant to what you were talking about in regards to las valientes. And that's what each one of you are, valientes. One, because you're here tonight and you're sitting here. And you're not sitting with a carabina, with a pistola, but you're sitting with a microphone. So your words are going to be just as powerful as the soldaderas have. So what an honor to be able to identify with them. Soldaderas, Adelitas, Juanagallos, I call them Juanagallos, guerreras. Some of you might have already been called that. I have been called all of these things. And it was delivered at me as if it was a negative thing, but I took it as a positive, okay? And there's another one that's called la metiche. Being a metiche is just fun. So, señoras metiches, I would like to know, and we're gonna go ahead and do this if whoever wants to answer. First question is, who would like to start with the story that impacted your life? What impacted your life to be where you are at this point?
I can start. You know, when I saw that question, I couldn't really come up with one specific story because I have a lot of stories that impacted my life. And I guess if I narrow it down to a story, I would say the story of my life, the story of my family impacted my life. I was raised in Mexico, and at a very early age, I lost my mother through a divorce. I had 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and she left. I was 8 years old, and she left. I was in charge of taking care of my little brother and 3 sisters. My baby sister was a 1.5 years old, so I became her mother. And so from that point on, I carried a lot of responsibility, and I carried that weight of having to always protect somebody and take care of somebody. And so from that point on, all that I could think about was, how can I improve myself? How can I improve myself so that I can provide the best care and the best support for my little sister and brother who was 2.5, the other sister was 3.5, and my other one was 7, and I was 8. And so I was responsible, I was a mother at that age. I became a parent. And so it impacted my life because of that experience. I chose to not have my own children. I don't have my own children, but I don't need my own children because I already had them. And so now I dedicate my life to helping my sisters and brothers raise my nieces and nephews. And so they're my new children. And so I can go on and on, but I don't want to take the floor.
Thank you, Olga. Do we have someone else that would like to share that journey? Thank you, Olga.
I can share a story. I actually was in a similar role with my family, but my mother was there. She just wasn't very nurturing of us. So I was the oldest girl in my family. But as a kid, I always read books. And from the youngest age, as far as I can remember, I wanted to go to college. But my parents didn't want me to go to college. They were against the idea. And I remember I lived my whole childhood like that was going to happen. I just knew I would go to college. And when I was in high school, my mom sat me down and she said, "Mija, we know you think you want to go to college, but we don't have money for that, so don't be surprised when that doesn't happen." And I was really surprised that she said that, but fortunately I didn't listen to her. And I found a way to go to college. I researched everything myself and found scholarships and applied for financial aid and went to college. And then when I got through college, I decided I wanted to go to law school. And when I told my parents I wanted to go to law school, they said, "You can't do that. You have to get married and have babies." So they were not happy with me. I did it anyway, and they didn't support it. They were against it. They tried to talk me out of it. And they never forgave me for doing it. So that's one little piece of my story that I like to tell people, because not everybody is blessed with parents who really understand how to be encouraging or understand the importance of education. And there are ways you can find support elsewhere if you don't have it in your own family. Hopefully most or all of you have it in your family, but if you don't, you're not alone.
Thank you, Diana. And I want to just say that I'm not informally introduced all of our panelists because we have the background that we'll be able to introduce them formally. So that way we can actually spend more time listening to their voices as well. I've heard several things right now that we have so far in common. That is, I'm going to transition to another question. And what I have heard is a couple of denominators, which is a lost. There's a lost somewhere. And I think that's the story for many of us women, that there's a lost. And then we play that leadership and that mother role. It's like we don't really have a choice. We're automatically put in that role. And taking care of others as well, whether it's yourself or others. And there's a way to, I know that I didn't mention this, but I do know this just from hearing her, and she was my roommate in college, so I know a little bit more than most of you. So according to what you said, Darlene, is that you both escaped with books. So Olga used to go and read lots of books in Mexico out in the street because she couldn't buy them, but she would just sit there and read the books in the puestos. So I want to also hear from other of you as well in regards to who was or is most influential in your life and why. And if you can weave also your story with it, that's perfect.
I'll go because kind of pieces of it relate to your stories. I was very lucky to have parents who put a huge emphasis on academics and always made me and my brother perform in school. It was what we had to do. But in my early 20s, I became a little bit lost, and I got pregnant with my daughter. And I found her. She found me, and she is the most influential person in my life. And when she was a baby, I took a job as a campaign manager, and I wanted to make myself better for her. I wanted to have a career. I didn't want to be lost anymore. And I also, through that experience, realized that in the political world, there was no one who looked like me or had a family like mine, or it was all a very certain type of person with a lot of money, and that they were influencing and had power over things that impacted my life and my community's life, and they had no input from us. They weren't asking us, and so that combination of things for me really changed the entire direction of my life. So.
Thank you for sharing that. How old is your daughter now?
She's 10.
She's 10.
Buenas noches. I will say the most influential person will be my family. My mom and my dad, after seeing all the sacrifices that they made for me and to be able to have a higher education, it really gets to me, to my heart, the sacrifices that they made for me and my brother to be able to accomplish so many things and to be able to, be someone that can help our community, our people to be successful. So I think, the reason that I got to college was because them encouraging me, hey, keep going. I only made it to second grade. You can do better than that. You will be like the first person to graduate from our families and be able to be influential for your cousins, your brother, and just hearing them encouraging me, it really makes me really happy to know that I have them to support me. And luckily, I go to PSU. I'm the vice president right now, and I'm making a lot of changes for our community. And the reason that I got there was because of my parents, because they encouraged me to go to school and applying for scholarships. I don't have to pay anything because, I was all everything. I was a lonely person because in high school, because I was studying and making sure that I was getting all my good grades to be able to not putting the pressure on my parents on being able to support me with the money. So I have scholarships. I go to school. I focus on pursuing my degree and making sure that one day I will have the degree that I can go outside in the real world and making changes for my community. So I would say that my family are the most influential people, and I have two brothers too. One 4-year-old, so I'm helping him to go to college and be the doctor. He's like, oh, I want to be like you, because okay, just sorry for taking too long. But the other day I was in school and I was having a really, really bad day with and my mom called me. He's like, guess what? Your little brother just told me that he wants to be like you when he grows up. He wants to be a doctor, and I'm like, oh, really? So that really made my day. So just my family, close to my heart. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you.
Well, voy a hablar en español para las que querían. Entonces, para mí, la persona más importante al principio fue mi mami. Y ella fue una architect en Colombia. Y cuando llegó a este país, desafortunadamente, este país no quería reconocer su título. Entonces, aquí, como mujer, en esos tiempos, tuvo que trabajar de lo que sea, limpiando casas y teniendo como 2, 3, 4 trabajos. Y ella me mostró que aunque la gente o el país o la cultura que no quiere que subes, ella hacía todo lo que podía para subir. Me mostró que el poder adentro, puedes hacer lo que quieres. Desafortunadamente ella ya falleció, pero hoy en día yo sigo recordándome las cosas que ella me enseñó, mostrando sus acciones, que nunca se dejó y sigue adelante. Aunque la gente le decía que no, ella decía, me vas a decir que no, vas a ver, voy a mostrarte que sí puedo. Y va adelante, como mujer. Listo.
Quisiera hacerles una pregunta acerca de eso, porque he escuchado algo, está un poco fuera de aquí, pero porque estoy navegando en las pláticas que están dando. Acabas de decir algo que es algo muy importante, que escuché a varios de ustedes decir de alguna manera u otra, que es you can't do that, especialmente de nuestra jueza. You can't do that. ¿Cuántas veces ustedes han escuchado you can't, no pueden hacer eso, or you can't do that. ¿Y cómo le hicieron para moverse a eso? Porque a veces también uno misma lo cree que we can't do that, no lo podemos hacer porque hay barrera tras barrera por muchas cosas. So, ¿cómo es que se han también animado solas? ¿Me entienden? Porque no siempre hay 5 o 10 personas diciendo you can do it, o lo ha visto, ¿sí o no? ¿Sí lo han tenido? Desde niñas, ¿han tenido un equipo de fútbol que les ha dicho si lo pueden? No, ok. Entonces, quiero que me platiquen de dónde han sacado esas fuerzas de decir sí puedo. O sea, Mónica, tú no lo explicaste, pero me gustaría si alguien más también puede, ¿de dónde tú sacaste las fuerzas de tu madre, verdad?
Sí.
Pero, y ahora, como profesionales que son y siguen creciendo profesionalmente, ¿siguen escuchando eso? You can't do it, no se puede.
No tanto. Pues para mí, les voy a decir una cosa. Antes que murió mi mamá me dijo siempre, haz lo que quieres, seguir para adelante, vivir la vida, lo que tú quieres, hágalo. Cuando también me casé, tuve un hijo, era chiquito y un día me desperté y dije, ¿qué estoy haciendo? Yo necesito seguir, necesito un título, necesito algo porque en las maneras que estoy viviendo ahorita no es suficiente. Mi mamá trabaja 3, 4 trabajos. Y me dio la idea que tocaba ir al colegio, al college y tomar algo. Yo ya tenía una idea que I wanted to be in the healthcare y lo quería hacer para mi hijo, que era otra influencia para mí. Y hasta los counselors me dijo, no puedes hacer eso en ese tiempo. Yo tengo 3 años, no sé por qué en mi mente tenía 3 años que tocaba hacerlo, la fe en Dios, no sé, adentro de mi alma, que tenía 3 años. Y la señora, no, que es tratando de sacar un título de tanto tiempo, créditos, tanto eso. Y no sé, adentro de mí salió y en 3 años salí con mi título de radiología. ¿Cómo lo hice? No estoy segura, creo que dormí 2 horas al día, no sé, y tratando de criar un hijo, pero adentro de mí y teniendo fe en Dios.
Gracias. The question that I asked, I'll say it in English, is I asked him to please share with us, do they continue to hear, you can't do that, it's not possible, where do they get that inner strength for them to continue on, and do they really have a team of people that looks like a football team that is behind them the whole time? Yes or no, and how and what, so that's the conversation and what we're talking about at this particular time. Olga.
When I came to Hillsboro, I was 15 years of age and I didn't speak any English. And so I went to high school, had to learn English fast, and the process was not easy for me. There wasn't a specific person that told me that, you can't do it. I had a lot of cheerleaders, people that supported me, teachers, administrators, counselors. But there was a bigger system that kept pushing me back, that kept telling me, you can't do it. And that had to do with the way I was treated, with the statistics that I kept seeing in terms of how my peers, my other Latino students were performing, successes they were having. I've had a lot of challenges in high school with my white peers. I was told many times, you need to go back to Mexico, you need to speak English, you're in America, things like that. And that's a part of a bigger system that has been challenging to overcome. And so, I was lucky that my goal in life was to finish high school and get a job so I could continue to support my brothers and sisters. But my teacher and counselor, an English teacher I had that became my counselor later in high school, said, no, that's not enough for you. You can go to college. She even drove me to college that first day and tracked me off against my will. And her name is Cynthia Gillum. She moved to Portland, was a school principal there, became a district office director, assistant superintendent, and so she's someone that has influenced my life. I've had a lot of mentors in my life as an adult. Right now, what influences me to be the best and to do what I do are my nieces and nephews, because I don't want them to experience the kinds of things that I experienced.
So you're a soldadera fighting la lucha, ¿verdad? Por ellos.
I like to tell a story that happened to me not very long ago when I was a judge, because when I was already a judge, because the kind of people telling you no has not stopped happening to me since I've been a judge. It still happens to me. I remember the first day when I got there, I had this sort of sinking feeling like, this is going to be a hard job for me. Like, there's nobody like me here. There's nobody who thinks like I do. And the first 2 years were very hard. I think the way I think is different. The way I solve problems is different. I see that as good. But the people that I work with don't necessarily value my way of thinking. They have their own way of thinking and they think it's perfect the way it is. So when I had been there about 2 years, I got to go to a training, which you might wonder why I got to go to a training 2 years in, but that's a good question. I went to a training and it was really helpful, and I noticed that in the training I was really excited and I was talking a lot, and I realized that I hadn't been doing that for 2 years. I'd gotten really discouraged. I always tell people, watch what happens to you when you stop talking or you stop acting like your excited self. Sometimes we all go through periods where you just feel discouraged, you feel kind of beaten down, and I was in a period like that. So I went to this training and I felt better. And I came back and I was all excited and I told my chief judge about it. And so we had lunch to talk about the training and what I learned. And one of the things they said was, you should find a more senior judge to mentor you. And since he was asking me how I was doing, I asked him if he would mentor me. Well, he did not say yes or no to that question. He apparently just took it as an opportunity to proceed to tell me everything that was wrong about me. So he said it in a really nice voice as though he was complimenting me, but he basically told me everything about me was wrong. And that I needed to change my whole way of doing the job, and that people didn't respect me, and that I was too slow, and all of these things. And I was so shocked, I wasn't expecting it, that I started crying. Like, not sobbing, but like tears started coming down. I couldn't stop it. And that didn't deter him at all. He kept talking. Like he was saying really nice things, but it was just killing me. So somehow I survived that. But by that point I'd been a lawyer for a while, and I'm old, so I've been through these things before. This was not the first time something like this happened. So I went home, kind of regrouped, and realized, okay, I just need to give this some time to think about what this means, because what he was telling me I needed to do to change myself, I was pretty sure I couldn't do, and be myself. Like, he was basically telling me to be a judge like he's a judge, but I know better than that. That's not going to work anyway, and I value my perspective and my way of doing things. So a couple of weeks later, I saw a movie, and I am a big movie fan. You might see from the screen, I write movie reviews, and I'm a big movie fan, and I have revelations in movies a lot. So I saw this movie that some of you young people might know. It's called Hustle and Flow, and it's about a pimp who wants to be a rapper. And I don't know any pimps personally, and I'm not a big rap music fan, but I really loved this movie and was really sucked into the story about him writing this rap song and his dreams to be a rapper. And in the course of the movie, he commits a crime. Like, he did it. That's right there on the screen, and he ends up in jail. And the revelation I had while I was watching this movie was, I'm here on the court because I'm the person who can hear the story that everyone thinks they know and still be listening and still wanting to know what really needs to happen. Does this person have a case or not? I'm not on the court to be the fastest one or to be just like these guys. I'm here because of what I understand about the world. So it just helped me get back into my perspective. And I did have to think about what to do with what that judge told me, and I did make some changes. But I can tell you, I didn't just pretty much do everything he told me. I found my own way to do it, but I did it from a place of remembering who I am and why I'm there. So I always tell students and people that are struggling to make their way, you will probably have lots of moments like that where people tell you, you have to become like what's already here. And those are dangerous words for us to pay attention to, because the world needs what we bring that's not already there, and it doesn't know it yet, right? So you need to be around other people who can remind you of that you bring something important, and you have to find a way to bring your gifts to whatever workplace you're in or whatever class you're in or whatever, and don't listen to the people who want to change you into what's already there. The way you are is just good and fine and needed as it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Darlene. And that actually transitions to one of the questions that we had, which is what advice would you give young Latinas about going to college? And I think that the question is being answered. I'd like for other panelists to answer that. You probably, how many of you young Latinas here, whoever have heard you need to go to college? ¿Verdad? Okay, so you already know that, right? You know you need to go. You probably already know why, right? Okay? We have lots of jewels here. A ruby, a diamond, a pearl. They will tell you the secrets of surviving the college life. And we don't want to sugarcoat it by saying it's going to be easy. You might be the only Latina brown face in the classroom. And you might say, híjole, I just want, what do we do when we get uncomfortable? We want to go back, right? We want to go back. You can't go back. Can't go back. So I want you to share that on how you cannot go back. ¿Cómo le siguen adelante? How do you find that revolución, that un nuevo México? How do you find that un nuevo whatever? Okay?
It's certainly not easy. When I was in high school, I didn't know how college was going to be. I thought that I was going to go to class and, like do my homework and then go home and have a good sleep. But no, I have spent so many hours in the library studying for like my exams, quizzes that you will think that are going to be easy, but no, it's like, I'm like, oh my God, I have a quiz. But it's kind of like an exam kind of thing. So it's really hard just being a student, focusing on a lot of things. But like the way that I survive in college right now is like having the support of like my professors, my friends, my family, being able to, like focus and like not losing track of what I'm here for. So just like, like sometimes it's hard when you go to class and all you see is like white peers. And then you're like, I'm in this class and I don't know if I'm gonna pass my class, or like there's so many questions that you go through, like this looks so hard, and who am I gonna study with? Like I feel so uncomfortable, like I don't feel like I can ask questions, or I'm nervous about like how the whole term is gonna go, and like me not having like the support of like a friend who identifies like with the same experience that I have through and the things that I'm going through in college. So it's really hard, just like some of those experiences that you go through is hard, and I mean like sometimes you will not see other students of color in the same classroom as you are, and just like, just like having the support of like the people, just asking questions, being able to, like find your resources that you can go and use and utilize for you to be successful in college is like powerful. And never forget about like your main goal. Like always like remember like the reason that you're going to college. Just like I'm always thinking like, okay, so I know that it's hard right now, and I know that I'm going through a lot. But like at the end, I'm gonna see the light where I can be like, hey, I'm almost done. Like I'm a junior right now, and I'm like, okay, so I'm excited because I'm gonna graduate soon, and this is gonna be over soon. And everything I'm gonna see is like, okay, so I have my job, and everything's going good for me. So just like remembering that is something that really helps me to be successful and like be able to survive in college.
Thank you. So I want to say something really quick, what you just said. It's not going to be over. Okay? That's one chapter in your life, that it's a journey. This is un escalón. It's just preparing you like a soldada. Okay? It's equipping you. But it ain't over, sister. Okay?
I agree with that. I think the things that, the tough things that we go through just make us tougher.
Yes.
And when you go to college, or even now in high school, this is a lesson you can take for the rest of your life, don't waste time on people who don't believe in you. You just move right on. You don't need to win them over. There are people who will love you and mentor you and support you and champion you. You find those people and you stick to them like glue. And anybody who doesn't believe in you isn't worth it. And when I went to college, I was studying science, so I was a Latina in the science world at a big university, and the professors just looked right through me. And ultimately I decided that I wanted a different career because I wanted to be able to reach my full potential. And the same thing unfortunately happened in my early years in politics too. There are people who underestimated me. People still try to sell me short or sell other women short. And you just gotta. And there's nothing that makes me more angry. No one has ever said to me, you can't do this, they just act like I can't. And it makes me so mad. So that's just, I just let that anger fuel my path forward, and I just tell myself, I'll just smile and wave and prove them wrong. And I do. So just don't waste time on people who bring you down.
I really agree with that, and I would add another bit of advice that I give people. Watch how you talk to yourself. Some of us are our own worst enemies, because when you feel uncomfortable or you see somebody that seems smarter than you, then you think, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, why am I so stupid? So what I tell people is listen to the things that you're saying to yourself in your own head. And if you hear yourself saying things to yourself that you wouldn't say to somebody that you care about, don't do it. Shut that voice off and turn that voice into your nice, friendly voice that you support your friends and people who care about you. The voices in your head should be just as supportive of what Melissa just said you should stick to. You should be telling yourself, of course you're smart enough, because you are. And if you don't know how to do something, you can go and find out and get somebody to help you. There is that kind of help out there, but really watch what you say to yourself in your own head. It's really important to keep it really positive.
Thank you. One of the things that I want to share, for example, is that we don't, how many of you had seen the PowerPoint that we saw this evening in regards to las soldaderas? Some of you, okay, not a lot, right? I had this sort of revelation as that was being shown, and I couldn't help it but to, because I do the same thing with the movies, and I drive my whole family crazy. Nobody wants to go to the movies with me. Maybe we should go to the movies. So, because then I want to talk about it for like days. So when I saw that, and that was just a PowerPoint, and my brain was going crazy, is I thought, wow, wouldn't it have been powerful if the soldaderas, I thought of Mulan, because Mulan also had to dress as a boy to be able to go to war. And I thought, wouldn't it have been, we don't have the Disney Mulan, right? But we can continue sharing that story. And even though it's a Disney movie, but it still empowered. I have a daughter that's 27-year-old. That movie she loves because she thought it was the greatest thing that, you know, she didn't have to be the princesa, you know, that she could be this guerrera. So, you know, each one of you muchachas and people in the audience, you know, think of that as well. You know, think about analyzing, thinking critically, asking questions is really, really important. I want to ask, how am I doing in time?
We're good about
We're good,
10,
okay.
15 more minutes.
So I want to talk about, or have you all talk about, what are the important things to prepare or know before college starts? We've talked about some of the things that the growing and the developing are the things that you're going to experience. What are some of the things that have been positive in learning during your time in, at the college, at the university? So if you can talk about that.
Yo puedo empezar. La comunidad latina es una comunidad que está bien unida a su familia, ¿verdad? Cuando yo entré a la universidad, en realidad no estaba preparada, académicamente quizás, pero emocionalmente no estaba. Yo pasaba los fines de semana en casa, en Hillsboro, en vez de en la universidad. Y ese fue el error más grande que cometí, porque pude haber avanzado más rápido, pude haber sacado las mejores calificaciones, pero you know, one thing to remember is it's going to be hard. Leaving your family is hard. For me, it was hard because I was the mother, I was the parent. I was leaving my younger sister at 15, and leaving her was painful. I couldn't bear doing that, and so that kept bringing me back. Until I was able to find a way to get others in the family to support her and to help with that. Pero fue algo con lo que sufrí. Y lloraba en las noches durante la semana en la universidad. Me quería regresar, pero no me di por vencida. So, un consejo que yo les daría es, nunca se den por vencidos, porque tienen una meta y hay que seguirla, ¿verdad? A cuestas de todo. Pero por supuesto siempre buscando apoyo, siempre buscando ayuda. Entonces cuando me gradué de la universidad y que regresé a terminar mi maestría, yo ya estaba mejor preparada, ya sabía, ¿verdad?, lo que quería. Pero fue cuando salí de la high school que ingresé a la universidad que fue la etapa más difícil de mi vida. Entonces, como ustedes se pueden preparar, es empezar ya a analizar what stays and what goes. How can I take care of what I'm leaving behind so that I can have a peace of mind and take care of my stuff? Because someday I'm going to come back and make a difference.
Thank you.
Una manera en que se pueden preparar para ir a la high school o para ir al college, yo diría que hablar con sus papás, qué son las metas que quieren lograr ustedes, y cómo nuestros padres nos pueden ayudar y darnos todo el amor y la ayuda que es necesaria que nos puedan dar a nosotros los estudiantes para poder ir al colegio y be successful. Cuando yo hablé con mis padres de ir al colegio, fue difícil porque ellos nada más fueron al segundo grado de primaria. Yo no tuve la ayuda necesaria para saber a qué universidad vas a ir o cuáles becas vas a escoger. No tuve la ayuda que yo hubiera querido y yo lo entiendo. Yo sé que mis padres pasaron por muchas cosas y ellos no tuvieron la ayuda necesaria porque tenían que apoyar a sus padres y a sus hermanos. Entonces, hablar con sus padres, porque el amor y la ayuda que ellos les pueden ofrecer es lo más importante, es lo que necesitas para que te enfoques, para que te den las ganas que necesitas de ir a la universidad y de decir, yo sí puedo. Y entonces, si tú tienes eso, tú puedes preguntarles a tus maestros, a tu consejera, maestra, consejera, estoy pasando por esto, no sé cómo empezar. Yo así, eso es lo que me pasó a mí. Yo no sabía, yo quería ir a la universidad, quería ser doctora, quería hacer algo por mi comunidad, pero no sabía por dónde empezar. Entonces yo le dije a mi consejera, a mi maestra, yo no sé. Y era el último mes, I was a senior, y yo todavía no empezaba por mis becas, todavía no sabía qué universidad iba a ir, no sabía nada. Entonces ella me dijo, ok, ven durante el lunch y yo te voy a ayudar. Entonces yo empecé a aplicar por todas las becas que encontré. A la universidad, a una era el colegio de Manhood Community College y la otra era PSU. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna be applying for these scholarships and these two places that I'm planning to go to school. And it was hard because I didn't have any other choices. Like I didn't have any other choices. Like I didn't know like what was best, because even though I went to high school here, I didn't really went through all the resources and like making sure that I was aware of what was out there for me as a Latina, as a first generation student. And so I was excited, and having the support from my counselors and my teacher played a big role, because I was able to apply the last week when scholarships were due. I was sitting at night at midnight. It was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm writing these essays, making sure that I was able to apply for these scholarships, because it was like I only have like 5 scholarships on my table, and I'm applying for it. And my mom comes to me and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm writing scholarships, because these are the ones that my counselor told me to apply for." And she's like, "Okay, I'll bring you some coffee so you can be awake." And I'm like, "Thank you, Mom." So that's how I applied for scholarships. I was able to apply for scholarships and able to apply for PSU. I got my scholarship. I got a full ride to PSU, and thank you. And I didn't know if I was accepted to PSU, but I did get the full ride. So I'm like, okay. And I was like, okay, so I still haven't had my acceptance letter for PSU. And then 2 or 3 weeks after I got my acceptance, I got my scholarship, and then I got like 3 or more scholarships. So I was pretty happy. And but the thing that helped me was like the support, and like me asking questions and like looking for those resources that are out there. Making sure that I was to raise my voice, because if you don't ask, if you don't talk to people, they don't know what you need. They don't know the things that you go through. They don't know if you have that support, or they don't know if you have like the resources, if your parents really got like a higher education to be able to be supporting you in that process in your senior year, when is the most important part of your life, because that is when you're deciding what school are you gonna choose. So it's just like, talk to people and making sure that you're talking to your sisters, to your friends, and making sure that they know that there are resources for them so they can go and have a higher education. So I think that just having that support is great.
Wonderful, thank you. So what we're gonna do at this point is, all of you have, I think, inspired us and have told us a lot of information. I know I'm going back to work tomorrow. Like you went back to your work after that training. We have to feed our soul, and we don't get a lot of opportunities to be able to have this type of opportunity for us to embrace and engage. We're going to open it up to the panel, so you can go ahead and answer more questions as well. Did you want to say something really quick?
Yeah, I just want to ask some of you girls, do you know what you want to do? So some of you know, that's awesome. some of you might not have an idea. You know, sometimes like some people, like, for example, when I first wanted to do x-ray, when I went to the program, they go, do you even know what it's all about? And I go, just taking pictures of bones? They're like, oh no, there's so much more to it. So sometimes we only see the surface of something. And so I actually put a flyer together with websites that can help you find and research things through the Oregon Labor Market Information System. And there's things there for you as a student that you can look for. Websites to apply for scholarships, and people that can actually help you search. But one of the last things I really want to make sure is to encourage you to go job shadow. If you think you want to do this or that, go to those companies that does this or that, and request that if you can go job shadow and talk to somebody that is already doing that, and ask them about, you know, whatever it is that you need to ask. But like she said, you have to ask. Because if you don't ask, the answer is always no. But when you ask, there's always that opportunity that someone's going to go, you know what? Venga, te voy a ayudar, te voy a mostrar. So I encourage you, okay?
Gracias, Mónica. Olga.
Rapidito. A las chicas de high school, de edad de high school, yo fui subdirectora de high school por muchos años y uno de los problemas más grandes que tenía yo era ver latinos, niños, jóvenes latinos con buenas calificaciones, con potencial, que estaba terminando el año de su senior year y aún no habían solicitado para FAFSA, no habían solicitado para becas y empezaban el proceso. Y luego no tenían el servicio comunitario, no tenían la experiencia. So that's where I want to get to. Service, community service. Start now. Start now if you haven't. Yesenia, me aseguro que, casi estoy segura que para que hubiese recibido esa beca, tuvo que haber demostrado todas las horas de servicio comunitario que hizo. Y no solamente con un lugar, con varios. Busquen oportunidades, hay muchas oportunidades de hacer servicio comunitario. Es lo que yo les exijo a mis sobrinos desde los que están en tercer año de primaria, quinto año, que empiecen ya. Porque todas esas experiencias las pueden poner en sus resúmenes y eso es lo que les va a ayudar más sus calificaciones, porque eso importa también. Les va a ayudar a conseguir esas becas que van a poder pagar por sus estudios. Nuestros padres, la mayoría de ellos no van a poder pagar por nuestros estudios, ¿verdad? O por sus estudios. Estas becas, hay mucho dinero ahí, hay mucho dinero, pero si ustedes no tienen ese servicio comunitario y esas calificaciones, es difícil conseguirlo.
Muchas gracias. ¿Me permite el micrófono? So I'm visto que you have seen that we have a lot of resources here also with all of our panelists, which is a wonderful, I wish I would have had this when I was younger. I didn't. It was a lo loco, you know, just not really knowing. I felt like La India Maria, I had no idea where I was going. But there I was, you know, just figuring it out. So it can happen. So at this point, we're going to open it up for questions. El foro está abierto para que hagan sus preguntas. Si pueden levantar la mano y se les llevará el micrófono. Si pueden decir su nombre, por favor.
Hi, I'm Adriana Tañas. My question is for Olga. I don't know if you mentioned that she's a city council member as well. And I just want you to relate your experience as an administrator, a principal, and how it relates to your role politically and what caused you to get involved in politics. Because I think a lot of us Latinos here, we get involved, but we're afraid to take that risk, and you did it. So I think, you know, you'd like to share that with the group.
Thank you. I'm in my second year of being in city council. Just finished my first year of my second term. What encouraged me, what motivated me to be on council was the oppression that I kept seeing over time. I've been in Hillsboro for 30 years, and I just had not seen a lot of change. I had made a decision to become an educator, to make a difference, to impact the lives of younger generations and Latino students specifically. But there was something else that was missing in me, and that was the impact that I was not making in my community. And so I started participating, doing community service. I started as a volunteer with the Vision 2020, Vision of Hillsboro. I was on, various committees. I was the chair of a Latino Outreach Advisory Committee, a group of city folks and Latino leaders that got together and did outreach out to the community. Not just parents, but Latino community, Latino businesses, Latino residents. And so through that work, I was able to meet a lot of influential people. I was able to meet a lot of influential people, and sometimes when that happens in your life, you get power. It's just the way it is. So I was asked by the mayor of Hillsboro 7 years ago, would you like to be on city council? I'm like, wow, it's that easy? It's not that easy. There was a city councilor that was leaving a year earlier, and so what councils can do is they can appoint people, right, for a period of time. And so I really didn't know a lot about politics, and I just kind of wanted to give to the community. I wanted to help the community, and I started exploring my role. What would I do? What an opportunity. And so I was appointed for 1 year. I finished my year and ran for council for a full term. And so no one ran against me that first term. So I had it for sure, and I was excited. The first year was challenging. I had to read a lot. That's what you do, on the days out, you have these handbooks, manuals that you have to read, and so I learned a lot in the 4 years that I was there, but not enough to consider myself an expert, and so I ran again, and here I am. As an educator, I became a teacher. I have a master's degree in special education, was a special education teacher. I was also a Spanish language teacher at Century High School for 5-6 years. Teaching Spanish for me was like piece of cake. I mastered the language. I was a linguistics major, and so I was a native speaker. I was born and raised in Mexico, and literature was my life, and I read all my life, and so I was a teacher teaching Spanish. I'm thinking, man, what an easy job. I need to do something else with my life. So I went back and went into administration. I completed another master's degree in school administration, and came back, and I worked for the district for a couple of years, became a vice principal, assistant principal. I was at Hillsboro High School for 7 years. Just recently I was hired as director of federal programs for the Hillsboro School District, so I oversee all of our federal funds, the federal money that we get from the government to serve schools in need and programs that have needs. I also started a parent and community engagement program for the Hillsboro School District, so it's another adventure that I'm very passionate about, and so one of the advantages of that position is that with City Council, I'm able to, because of my influences, I know a lot of people, I'm able to partner with a lot of agencies, a lot of communities around, that serve people, social service agencies that essentially serve the same people that I work with, same families. And so together we can do a lot more and serve them in a better way.
Thank you, Olga. I like the way Olga answered. She called her opportunities adventures, which I love it. Not adventures, because that sounds like fun, a little bit of scare. Se pone la capa de Superwoman, and there she goes. All right, more questions? I'll take Ceci, and then I'll be here.
Buenas noches, me llamo Selena Girón. So I really appreciate all your stories and your experiences. I feel like I can relate. My question is, now as professionals, what would you tell young professionals like myself? How do you deal with the balance of family, your children, your husbands or partners, and still strive to be even greater at what you do?
Great question.
So my job was busy before, and then when I became chair 3 months ago, it just exploded exponentially. And I have a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old. And what I learned actually on campaigns, which were like, 80-hour weeks with a baby, was that you have to choose your battles. And I've become adept at prioritizing and letting some things go. Like my car, it's a sty. It's very dirty inside and out. There are crumbs under the seat. And I'm okay with it because instead of cleaning out my car at night, I'm reading books to my babies. And I'm talking to my 10-year-old about, what happened to her at school. And when they go to bed, I'm talking to my husband. And whatever your messy car is, or maybe, I also have a messy closet, and the lawn's a little bit long, whatever those things are, you don't have to be perfect at everything. You just have to pick a couple things, the important things, and do your best. And we have to be kind to ourselves because we want to be perfect and we want to be, the best at everything, and that's unattainable, and it's not worth it. We'll get more joy out of the things that we do when we just pick the right things. So.
I'd like to add just a little bit of that as well, because I hear you. Finding that balance is really, it's challenging, it's very difficult. I've had to let go of certain things as well that, if the room is messy, it's just messy. And if the girls come and give me a hug, and even the dog, I'm just gonna take up those few minutes to do that. As I was coming over here, because it doesn't slow down, your children are gonna grow, and they're still gonna need you, because then you're gonna be a grandma and a tia, so it's not gonna slow down. So if you might get in your mind like, well, I'll just kind of wait till the kids get older, and then I'll get involved with city council or whatever, it's not gonna stop. I'll use the example on my way here. My older daughter, who's 26 years old, is taking a post-bac class because she wants to get into grad school. She's a single mom. And I told her, I'm going to take Mijo with me, which is my grandson, but he really needs to, se tiene que portar bien, and this is the first time that I bring him to an event like this. And so she went ahead and sat down with him and said, I did this every day with mom because I was a single mom as well, for days after days and days. So it can be done, we can engage our children, and I see over here mi amiga Daralis that she brought her daughter. So bring your children, engage the children as much as you can. Bring coloring books, comida, feed them something, and they'll be fine. Because they are listening, they really are. Okay?
That's true, my mom brought me everywhere.
So we have a question in the front. Micrófono.
Okay.
Tu nombre.
Mi nombre es Celeste Mora. My name is Celeste Mora, and I'm going to do my question in Spanish and in English. So my question is, if after tonight, the ladies that are sitting here don't take this wealth of information and then turn it into something that they can do for themselves, help them move forward, what are the negative effects of that in our community? I'm going to do this in Spanish now. Mi pregunta es que si acabada esta noche, las muchachas que estamos aquí no tomamos ventaja de lo que nos dicen estas mujeres fuertes, ¿qué van a ser las desventajas o las negativas de esto en nuestra comunidad?
Who would like to answer? Tough question, huh? Good question, great question.
como educadora, cada día yo pienso en el aprovechamiento académico de los latinos. Aunque yo trabajo con todos los estudiantes de Hillsboro, ¿verdad? Pero ¿por qué pienso en el aprovechamiento académico de los latinos? Porque son los que menos están aprovechando de las oportunidades que existen. No es porque no quieran, pero muchas veces es porque hay otras barreras. Hay el idioma, la pobreza, la educación, no tienen la comunicación que necesitan, no tienen mentores, hay muchas barreras, ¿verdad? Entonces, una de las cosas por las que yo pregono, ¿verdad? Like a better word, es que nuestros jóvenes, nuestra juventud necesitan modelos, necesitan ejemplos. ¿Y quién más que nosotros, los que estamos informados, los que tenemos esta riqueza de información, de educación? Si la tenemos, hay que usarla, ¿verdad? No solamente los jóvenes latinos en Hillsboro, en el estado de Oregon, nacionalmente los latinos están underachieving, ¿verdad? Cuando yo fui a la universidad, siempre casi era la única latina y la única persona de color en mis clases. Y a veces sudaba de, híjole, tengo que hablar, tengo que participar, porque yo no quiero que piensen que porque soy latina no puedo, ¿verdad? Y me costaba, pero le echaba la lucha. Cuando fui a hacer mi maestría en administración, la única latina ahí sentada. Llegaba a veces y, ¿con quién me siento? ¿Quién me va a rechazar? ¿Quién me va a escoger cuando nos dividamos en grupos? Siempre tenía que estar pensando en eso. ¿Y en lo que piensan nuestros jóvenes latinos cuando entran en esos salones de clase de química, física, matemática? Piensan lo mismo. Yo sé que piensan lo mismo. Yo sé que muchos de ustedes han pensado eso cuando entran a lugares así, ¿verdad? Nosotros tenemos que empower a la juventud para que, aunque sientan eso, aún sigan adelante y no se den por vencidos.
I'd just like to add to that. I believe that even if no one does anything right now, I think we've made an impact. I think sometimes we need to listen to things 1,000 times. And maybe this is 999. So the next time you hear it, that might be the moment. And so every single moment that we do this, it's not going in vain. Because we know, we're here, we did it, and we know that you will also do it. It might take 1,000 times, but that's okay.
Thank you. One of the advices that un consejo that a brother of mine has always given me, life only gives you what you can handle, okay? And there might be times that it feels like I'm not going to be able to do this, and you can do it. Olga and I went to school together, but the year before she arrived, I went to OSU first, and I dropped out of college for many of the same reasons that we're talking about. ¿Qué estoy haciendo aquí? What am I doing here? I don't fit here. I don't even know how to get to this building. It was like a brand new language, a term, a transcript, major, minor, gym, and I was still learning English. So I was like, I feel like I just arrived in another country, like another circle. And right, so another planet. So I did go back home, and I went back to the same, to answer your question, I went back to the same, which was to work in the child care in the fields. I helped my parents pay the power bill and this and that, all kinds of different things. And then something, I don't know, se me cayó el 20, like we say, something clicked in my brain, and decided to go back to Oregon State University and finish the degree. Was it easy? No. But I found and connected with people, and I always tell this to students, I don't care if you connect with the janitor, or the lady that's cooking, or the tutor, or whoever gives you that smile, keep going back for that friendliness. Connect with at least somebody. I would secretly do weird things. No, really, I'm going to tell you. And Olga también, she's just not telling you about it. I kind of wanted to get away from from even that crowd, the little bit of crowd that I had, because I wanted to learn about other parts of the world. But I thought they're gonna think I'm kind of weird because I want to know about Scandinavia and the Norwegians, and so I started taking ballroom dancing. You know, like da, 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 doing all these little dances and just weird things. And it's okay to step outside of your circle to do that, you know? Because a veces we want to stay with our own cultura, and that's okay. But step out of the circle. Step out of the circle. We're not going to die. I guarantee you, it's not going to happen. You know, so take that extra step. Okay. More questions? Yes.
First of all, I want to thank you, lovely ladies. I am a sophomore at Lewis and Clark College studying political science, and I think that's an accomplishment for myself, being able to get into Lewis and Clark College. But I'm facing a different problem that I want to know if you guys have confronted this, and that is that people aren't telling me at school that I can't do things. They're not telling me, oh, because of where you come from, you can't do this. It's a different problem. It's very interesting. I feel like sometimes I'm there to fill a diversity quota, and people are defining me by being Hispanic or Latina. How do I get people to realize that I am not just defined by my culture, that I am defined by my ideas and by things that I can bring to the table other than just my culture? And I want to know if any of you have experienced this, people wanting you present for who you represent, but not who you actually are, and how could it overcome that?
So how does that, can you give some examples of how that happens to you?
So I've been asked to take part of photo shoots where I am not actually part of that program. Some people want to know my opinion because of my background, and I'm not gonna lie, I do not speak Spanish, and I'm not very in touch with my Latina background, and sometimes it hurts me for people to instantly make those associations. That is where I come from, but that is not all of who I am, and I just want to know if any of you guys have experienced that and what I can do to combat that.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Well, like something, you know, like I have experienced that. I'm a Latina. I go to PSU, and there are many times people have like, you know, and I'm involved with student government. I'm the vice president there, and like all the time, like people are like asking me like to, hey, would you like to like, I don't know, like do this? Would you like to be in the picture for the cover? Would you like that? Would you like to do something? I'm like, but then I ask myself like, why is the main reason that you want me on your cover? Like, is it because like the work that I'm doing for my community, or is it the work that I'm doing for like our student body, or is it just because you want a Latina to be in your cover so you can attract more students to our campus? Because that's a big thing right now. A lot of students are going through that. A lot of students are like, why is like one example, PSU is known for like being like the most diverse campus. And if you look at the cover, in every cover there is always a student of color in that cover. But the question, what are you doing to satisfy the needs of those students? Are you doing more programs? Are you providing resources? What are you doing for us as students? We are the covers. We are bringing money to the universities. So like, why you're not doing any work? So I do understand, like I have gone through that experience where like people ask me, and like, you know, I always tell them I have my story, and I'm like, I feel like I can share my story to you, but I can share like what makes who I am and why am I here. But I don't want you to like, and I do it in a nice way, you know, like I'm very respectfully, I'm like, hey, I can talk to you about like, you know, my story, and I can share it with you. But I want you to do it because of the work that I'm doing, and because I'm gonna make a big change, not because you're gonna use me as one more student on your cover that is bringing money to this university.
Thank you.
So, I think, you know, I think when people ask you to participate in something and they're trying to use you, which is why it doesn't feel good, I think you just use them back. You take that power and you use it, girl. You just, you know, they invited you, they have to listen to you, you know, and we don't get invited a lot of places. And, you know, for, for hundreds of years, this country has invited people to the table because they played golf, or they were guys, or they were rich, or they were whatever. And, I think that I totally get that it doesn't feel good, but you aren't powerless in that situation, and you can turn it around.
Thank you. I think, we don't have time for one more question. What I'm going to recommend is, I'm saying yes, one more? Okay, so one more. But I'd like to answer just really quickly also is, I agree with what everyone is saying. One important thing too is to recognize that the college that it's Lewis and Clark, right? So there isn't a lot of diversity in itself. It's a public institution, and even though it is a private institution, there's probably a lot of lack of cultural competency. So I would recommend that you find some allies, and those allies could be via other resource centers that might be on campus. Another thing that you could possibly do too, and this would take a lot of courage and you have to be ready for it, is that when you are asked this, you can go ahead, as she said, turn the tables and say, I think that's a really good idea, whatever it might be. How about if we get together and brainstorm about this, because I can't speak for all Latinos or all. I get it practically every day. I'll use an example of yesterday. I'm on a search committee to select a campus president. And by quota, we have to have diversity sit there. So I know why I'm sitting there. I know why. But I'm not going to sit there quietly. I'm not going to sit there and just be the brown face they want. I'm going to really prepare myself to ask really deep questions, okay? You're not just going to take a picture and get my signature. But there are times that you will be tired. So that ally is really important. So we had a candidate that came forward, and of course, we may sound very rare, yet a person of color that comes through to such big, and person sitting next to me, I just went, Jesus Christ, do I have to speak up for the only person of color that's on this committee? The candidate, and I'm like, geez, it would be nice if someone would say something. Why does it always have to be me? And she's like, I'll do it. I said, then do it. So then she did it. But I had to encourage her, so she was my ally. Okay, so you have to find allies to be able to do that. It's really, really important. So we're going to take one more question, and then we're going to break down. Nos vamos a ir a comer empanadas y champurrados y churros y toda la cosa. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Silon Rivero. I'm coming from Portland, so I missed a good part of this incredible gathering. I see that there's a lot of energy here and a lot of great minds as well. My question is going to be a little bit selfish, but I think it's of good information for these young and bright Latinas that we have here. And it is, how, in your experience as a woman who's educated, as women in government, how do we deal with these expectations of us as Latinas when we are mothers too? And the issue of bringing balance to our work life. And then there's also a side question, which is in the theory of feminism. There's always the idea that we have to take on what contemporary mainstream feminists have done, which is to not have children at all, but maybe Latinas want a different idea where there is everything in it, where there's success, professional success, advancement in children and family and stable relationships. So, thank you.
So actually, that question was answered already, Yvonne. Okay. Pero I think that it would be good to maybe just take a few minutes to answer the particular question about the tail end of it, which is the feminism of it, because the question was already asked by Selena previously, so she can give you the answers if you want to connect with her. So, any questions about the feminism? The feminista? Have any of you studied the feministas? Okay, I have. Actually, part of my women's studies, and that could be maybe another another conference, another panel, we can just talk about the theory of feminista. So in a nutshell, if I can just quickly answer, there's very few books about Chicana, Latina, feminista, Gloria Anzaldúa, one of our heroes who I actually met at Lewis and Clark when I was a young muchacha like you, and had an opportunity to be able to hear her out. And other women of color, Maya Angelou and Audre Lorde, etc. There's very few books about the feminista. And a lot of us, as I did my master's in women's studies with an issue of race, class, and gender and the feminista, the Chicana feminista, there's a lot of misconceptions that to be a feminist, you must be this and that. Right. And it's not. We get to define our own reality what a feminista is. So that's a really big question that, si quieres, hablamos con champurrado. Okay.
My name is Lily Cáceres. I'm the Minority Services, statewide Minority Services Hispanic Latina Coordinator for the Oregon Youth Authority Juvenile Correctional Division, and good friends with Olvita.
And I am so impressed, and I read about you, Commissioner Chair. Wow, it's unbelievable. It fills me with so much pride to see so many successful Latinas. I have 3 daughters, and unfortunately in the area where we live, where they were raised, in Lake Oswego, we're not in the wealthy area, but close to I-5.
No judgment,
Bridgeport Village exit. But yeah, my oldest daughter, Kelly, suffered quite a bit because she was the only dark-skinned person. She's darker than me and looks more Middle Eastern than me. And so I came here at an old age. I'm from the dinosaur age. And so without speaking a word of English, I do work. I was with DMV for about 13 years, from frontline employee all the way to principal safety manager B. I didn't do it by myself. Many wonderful people helped me. Without their help, their push, their encouragement, I would have not gotten where I did, the little I did. And then I transferred to the Juvenile Correctional Division, because when I saw the announcement, I thought, how wonderful. I'm working for an agency where you get to meet people from all over the world, which is DMV. Como la casa del jabonero, el que no cae resbala, right? Now it's changing after September 11th. But then I thought, my goodness, our jails are filling up with our Latino people. And so, 2 things. One, your advice to this old person. I think sometimes the limitations that we have in our lives are the ones that we create for ourselves. Like in my case, I think because of my heavy and awful accent and my super imperfect English, I try to learn something every day, something else, but it's never going to be perfect. What would be your advice not to feel so fearful to continue to move up or to do better because you don't speak the language perfectly? And that's one. And the other one is the most important thing. I am the liaison. Our office belongs to the director's office, and I think Judge Ortega has been one of our speakers at one of the governor's summits, if I don't recall wrong. Very proud of you too, of all of you. And so we have the Oak Creek Youth Correctional Facility, all-female youth correctional facility in Albany. We have, of course, more Latina girls than any other minority girls. And I would love to bring a panel, because I'm the liaison with them, for them to see, because pretty much every single one of them never had a person like you, and most of them didn't have even a father figure. And so it would be so inspirational, maybe as a guest speaker, maybe we can have a meeting with them, con comida, maybe I'm from Peru, so maybe I can make comida peruana. But very, very proud of you, and wow, I would love for my oldest daughter to meet you all. And she's a bit shy because of what she went through during her high school years, and And my other two girls did better. They said, I think, why should I let people step all over me? Kelly, allow them. I'm not gonna allow them. So the youngest two, they all have their master's degree, and one is working for Vogue right now, and the other one is working for Manchester United Soccer Club. But my Kelly is my chicle. She's always close to me, and she's working with our kids. She has a master's degree in counseling psychology, fully bilingual, fully and bicultural, and she's helping our Latino kids, especially the families, but youth in general, because we need to do something to save. Our jails are way too full of our Latino youth, and I would love to invite you one day, whenever you have time, to the Oak Creek facility or McLaren or Hillcrest. And believe me, the kids never, ever misbehave when we bring somebody. It's like bringing a little piece of the outside world into their unique world of close custody that many times it's forgotten unless you know somebody there or you work there.
Thank you so much for your passion, and thank you for the work that you're doing with youth. And you asked us a lot of really good questions, and I think what we're going to do is I would invite you to socialize, and one thing that I do want to say to you, do never ever apologize for your accent. It's beautiful. Okay, and your English is perfect. So at this point, we have a lot of questions. We've been empowered, and we're hungry for this type of thing, right? I'm hungry for empanadas right now. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Miss Cecilia here.
Gracias, Nancy. Well, thank you so much. I'm just going to take 2 minutes just to close. I'm very happy that you guys made this time to come and listen to this wonderful panelist, and also, of course, Nancy as the moderator. Thank you very much. I know we all have families, and we made this possible because of the same reasons, that we don't want the jail to be full of our young Latinas or young Latinos. We want to make sure that we stop that before we get there. And your support, and you as the models and the people that could support and help us are here. And this is a perfect setting and environment where you can share and hopefully have the chance to meet our young Latinas here that are con hambre de mucho. Entonces, gracias por su tiempo, gracias por su dedicación, por su pasión, muchísimas gracias. Y esto no hubiera sido posible, o no pudiese haber sido posible sin ustedes, sin el trabajo de Elizabeth López de aquí de la biblioteca, sin el trabajo que hace con la también el trabajo que se hace con la organización Adelante Mujeres, el staff de Adelante Chicas. Muchas gracias. Y esto es por ustedes. Y vamos a seguir en la lucha. Este es el principio de muchos que vienen. Así es que vamos a estar conectados. Gracias. Y bueno, para